Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Leggett, and I am the Program Manager at the Central Florida International Trade Office. I'm excited to learn today about the great programs available to help Florida food and beverage sector businesses to get started exporting. And to do this, I'm pleased to welcome today three distinguished experts on exporting food and beverage products from Florida. First, we'll hear from Whitney Lett, who is a development representative with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Division of Marketing and Development. She's been with FDACS for nearly 8 years and has spent the majority of her career there educating Florida companies on the export process and tools available to assist them. Whitney holds a bachelor's degree in marketing from the Florida State University. Next, we'll hear from Danielle Coco, who is the Marketing and Communications Director at the Southern U.S. Trade Association, or SUSTA. She started with SUSTA in 2013 and is responsible for creating awareness of SUSTA and reaching out to new companies that can take advantage of SUSTA's export assistance. The mission of the Regional Nonprofit Trade Association is to help Southern companies promote their agricultural products internationally. SUSTA works closely with the Department of Agriculture in 15 southern states to administer the Market Access Program and the Agricultural Trade Promotion Program, both of which are funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Foreign Agricultural Service. David Habib is the founder and CEO at Yo Mama's Foods. Launched in 2017, Yo Mama's Foods is now available in over 6,000 countries in the U.S. and has begun exporting overseas in 2020. As Amazon's #1 brand of pasta sauce, Yo Mama's Foods continues to innovate and make waves across America and the world. So on that note, I'd like to thank all of the guests today for joining us, and we'll start off with Whitney. So over to you for your presentation, Whitney.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Like Chris said, my name is Whitney, and I work in the Division of Marketing at the Florida Department of Agriculture. And I just wanted to take a few minutes this morning and share with you all what our division does to help support exporting and some things that we can do to help you guys out in that process. But before we start, I wanted to just give a quick look at some stats with the Central Florida area. Exporting is not just important to the state, but it's very important to the Central Florida region, with a little over $4 billion in agricultural exports in 2018. And in looking at the data, some top products that you see that pop up are things like fruit juices, sauces and condiments, cheeses, melons and papayas, and tomatoes. So knowing that it's important, we have tools available for you guys to help you in that process and to make it a little easier. So one of the things, well, I guess to start with, so within the Division of Marketing, I work on a team called Trade Development. And this team, as the name suggests, is working towards helping Florida producers not only expand their products within the domestic market, but within the international market. And one of the big programs that we have is our Fresh from Florida retail program. Being in Florida, I'm sure you guys have either seen the Fresh from Florida logo, maybe in your grocery store circular ads, signage inside the grocery stores, even on the products that you'll see in the stores. And we work with retailers whenever they've got Florida product in their stores. We incentivize them to advertise that it is Florida product, to get people to buy local, and then to educate other areas outside of Florida on the importance of our Florida products. And we have an international reach within this program with places like Canada, the Caribbean, Central America, Europe, and Asia. And these areas are going to work a little bit differently than what we do here in the US, a lot because of the logistics and just the distance and the cost that sometimes it takes to get your product to a faraway destination like that. In Canada, you'll see the circular ads and you'll see a diversity of products. And you'll see some diversity in the Caribbean and Central America as well. But the further you get away, we focus on more like niche products in these certain markets. So these pictures give some examples of some things that we do. Our retailers get very creative and find fun ways to promote Fresh from Florida, including things like vehicle wraps. That is in Canada. We also have our retailers in Asia will also do vehicle wraps. Before COVID, we were doing a lot of in-store sampling. We still have displays of products, and not so much as sampling, but we'll have incentives. If you buy a Florida product, you can get, so much off, or you might get a free gift whenever you purchase product. We've also done a restaurant promotion where they had a limited time menu that was a fresh from Florida menu featuring items that were made with Florida ingredients. So we have a great relationship with retailers, and we work with them not only to provide suppliers for the products that they're interested in, but we meet with them yearly and we ask them, what are some other products that you would be interested in seeing in your stores? What are some new things that we can advertise? And then we work with you guys, the Florida producers and growers, and match you guys up with these retailers. We're always looking to diversify the products that we have and expand our reach in these regions. Another important thing that we work with are trade leads, and we get these from a variety of sources. One place where we tend to get trade leads is trade shows. We'll have people come up asking for certain products from Florida, and we take those leads and come back and look at our pool and our list of companies that we know, whether it's through our relationship with the Fresh from Florida name or if it's with SUSTA, and we will put you guys in contact with those buyers if you're interested in exporting. We also work a lot with the ATO offices. I put this little clip of a picture about Saudi Arabia. A few years ago, the ATO office in Saudi Arabia reached out because they had some buyers looking for Florida honey. We were able to contact some Florida honey producers and match make a producer with the buyer there in Saudi Arabia. We also get a lot of trade leads from SUSTA. They have a landing page where they list off a bunch of different trade leads that come in, and we monitor those. And if we see a good fit for a Florida company, we share that with you guys. I won't talk too much about SUSTA because Danielle does a wonderful job of talking about all the programs, but I thought I would share kind of how we as the Department of Ag work with SUSTA. So we are what are called activity managers, and we're kind of like the support staff for that local staff in the SUSTA office. We work to recruit companies like yourself into the SUSTA program, educating on how the program works, getting you set up on a consultation call, answering any questions you have about the program. And then we also manage activities that SUSTA holds throughout the year. So right now, obviously a few more virtual events than others, but like this example shows some of these things. What we do is we help recruit companies, we help plan the events, and then we attend the events and make sure everything goes smoothly. So that's a way that we support people who are interested in exporting. We help you guys find the right fit of the type of event that you might want to do, and then assist you as you're preparing for that event. And then this is kind of the near and dear to my heart, my favorite thing that I do, and that's export education. So we work towards doing seminars and webinars like the one that I'm talking in right now, to be able to, meet with you guys and bring you the tools and the resources, information that you need to export and to get into an international market. Right now, we're doing webinars due to limited travel, but hoping to do some more in-person events. I love talking just in general. I love to talk. And so to be able to say something meaningful to people and really help educate is really important to me and something that I love to do. Another tool that we offer is we have an export webpage within the Florida Department of Ag's website, and I will get with Chris to share that with you guys. It's kind of a long URL and it doesn't look pretty on a slide, but this page offers different tools and resources that are available to you outside of the Department of Ag that can help you in your exporting process. And this is something that we manage and update pretty much every year. So it's good information, it's current information that may answer some questions that you have about the export process. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through email or the phone. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys and offer any kind of assistance that I can. So that is a little bit from me, and I will, I guess, pass it over to Danielle. Let me.
Thanks, Whitney. Your last slide is a good reminder to me that I should have at the beginning said to our attendees that if you have any questions, there's a Q&A box. There's also the chat feature where you can put them in advance, and then at the end we'll also have an open call for questions. So you'll have ample opportunity to ask some of our great guests some of the questions that come to mind right away. Thanks, and over to you, Danielle.
Great. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Whitney. That was, it's always nice to hear about what you all are doing. So my name is Danielle Coco. I'm the marketing director at the Southern U.S. Trade Association. We are headquartered in New Orleans, so I'm the only presenter who's not in the state of Florida right now. I'm in my office in downtown New Orleans. We are a regional trade association, and this map that you see on my slide, this is our entire region that SUSTA covers. The funding that we get for the programs that we administer is from the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service. So it's a federal program that's available to any company in the US, and SUSTA administers it for the Southern US. And our mission is to help small businesses that want to export food and agricultural products that are at least 50% US ingredients or farmed, fished, forested. Which brings me to our eligibility. So companies that want to take part in SUSTA's programs need to be headquartered in the southern region. We work with companies that are small by SBA standards, so that's the Small Business Administration. For most companies, that is fewer than 500 employees is what would make you a small business, but that is not for everybody. It kind of varies depending on your company. If you have questions about that, we can always help. And then we want to make sure that companies taking part in our programs are ready to fulfill an export order should it come their way. So we just want to make sure that you have adequate supply should that happen, and we'd like to see your previous year at least 50,000 in annual sales at a minimum. And then products, the products that we would help you promote have to have a brand name. So we're not helping promote Florida citrus, let's say, as a group or as a commodity. We would help a specific, orange juice company or, orange producer or, whoever it is, promote their brand. And then, as I mentioned, the products have to be made from at least 50% US agriculture. And USDA likes to see an origin statement somewhere on your logo saying it's made in the USA, product of Florida, something like that. And the Fresh from Florida logo counts as an origin statement. So now that we have that behind us, let's talk about the more interesting topic, which is our programs and what we offer to help you meet foreign buyers and promote your brands. So we have two core programs that I'll go through, our global events and 50% cost share. I'll start with global events. So these are ways in which you can meet qualified foreign buyers through all kinds of different ways with SUSTA. We'll start with our inbound trade missions. So this is when we bring foreign buyers here to the US to meet with companies that are in our programs. We're bringing in buyers, from all different markets throughout the year. And if you're on our events page, which is on our website, susta.org, and you see one that looks interesting and you register, you might just have to travel to Miami to meet with, as you'll see these examples here, buyers from, sorry, I just kicked my camera, Taiwan, Brazil, and South Africa, or later in the year, Caribbean and Central American buyers. But sometimes, maybe it's taking place in Atlanta or somewhere in North Carolina. We kind of change up where we bring the foreign buyers. These are inexpensive ways to connect with several buyers without leaving the US. It's good for new exporters, but we also have a lot of our seasoned companies participating in these types of inbound trade missions. So again, all of these events are on our events page, and we have quite a lot. I'll talk about how we navigated COVID in a minute. Right now, I'm just talking about in like a typical pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID time. So back when we used to be able to travel, we would also host outbound trade missions. This is when you, the US company, would travel to the international market with SUSTA to meet foreign buyers there. So same thing where you're going to meet one-on-one with, several foreign buyers. But in addition to that, you're going to go on retail tours so you can see, the supermarkets and convenience stores, et cetera, where your products could be on the shelf, check out the competition, pricing, even their packaging. So, you're going to get a really good feel for the market that way. We also have our in-country consultant in the market. So here we are in China, these pictures. So we'd have our consultant SMH, who's in Shanghai, give an in-depth presentation on US ag exports going into China. We'd also have the USDA Foreign Agricultural Service representative who's in China also speak about US exports going into China. They can talk about any manner of things like your packaging, different regulations, what's going on with, trade and policy. So again, actually traveling to the market, you're going to get even more resources and a better feel for how your products could do. These are incredibly affordable. In fact, I'm always thinking, gosh, I wish I had a product and I could sign up for one. So it's depending on if you get the early bird special, it could be as low as $400 to participate in something like this, which would include all of your meetings and the retail tours and the presentations. But also for that fee, SUSTA will pay for either your one person's round trip airfare into the foreign country or one person's lodging, so one person's hotel for the duration of the trade mission. So, I mean, it's incredibly affordable, and I'll talk about how you can use our other program, Cost Share, to help with some of the other expenses. Okay, so for both of these event types, either whether it was an inbound trade mission or an outbound trade mission, since March of last year, we have been converting those to virtual missions. So our companies have still been able to connect with foreign buyers one-on-one, but it's over Zoom. Of course, it is not the same thing, but we really try to make it as effective as possible. We help our companies with getting your product samples to the foreign buyers that you'll be meeting with on Zoom in advance, so that they at least, have seen or tasted or have, your product in front of them. And, it's still a way to meet buyers. We've had good feedback over the last year, and I think even once we're back to normal, whenever that is, hopefully soon, that we would still continue to offer these virtual missions because, they've been a great resource, and, you're not leaving. I mean, forget about not even leaving the state or the US, you're not even leaving your house or your office. So talk about efficient. And then last event type that I wanted to talk about are the SUSTA pavilions that we have at trade shows around the world. So we'll rent out anywhere from 5 to 20 booth spaces at a trade show and create a pavilion with the SUSTA banner, and then companies can register to exhibit in the SUSTA pavilion. So you get your own booth space, and bring all your marketing materials, your samples, and it's your own. But the benefit is that you're within the US pavilion, you're in our SUSTA grouping. If it's a huge trade show, you're not going to get lost in the shuffle that way. In addition to that, we're helping you from the minute you sign up until you're, through after the show. So we're going to help you navigate getting your products and your shipments there. Any questions you have, meeting deadlines to make sure that you're getting into the trade show directory, and that, it's a pretty painless process for you, so you can just focus on being at the show and marketing your products. If it's a market where English is not the primary business language, we will also provide interpreters for each booth. We typically provide a shipping allowance as well. So, you register with us, you pay the fee, and included in that would be interpreters, shipping up to either a certain dollar amount or weight. And we typically reduce the cost. So the fee that you would pay through SUSTA, let's say if you went without going through SUSTA, it might be $7,000 or $8,000 for your booth, and if you come with SUSTA, it might be closer to like $2,000. So we significantly reduce the cost as well. Again, trying to work with our small businesses. It might not be possible otherwise for a small business who's getting into exporting to travel to these shows and to get a piece of that market. And the USDA really cares about helping the smaller folks get in on this action. And then again, there is an opportunity to use our cost share program to offset other expenses. So if you go to our website, susta.org, and you click on the events tab, you'll see all of our upcoming events. And if you click on any of them, you'll get all the information, the fee, what's included, etc. So that wraps up our events. And now I'll talk about cost share, which is a program that's pretty unique to agriculture. I don't know of any other government funded program that offers something like this. So we can reimburse 50% of certain international promotions. This is the full list of activities that we can help you with through cost share. So pre-COVID, we were helping a lot of companies go to trade shows. So 50% of your exhibition fee, whether you were coming with SUSTA at that reduced cost or going, to a trade show by yourself, and you could get half of your booth fee, travel for 2 people. So that would be 2 international flights, lodging for 2 people and a per diem, your marketing materials for the show, your promotional giveaway items, let's say you have ice cream and you want to give away ice cream scoops with your brand, that kind of thing. If you wanted to advertise in a trade show directory, it all adds up. Freight for shipping your samples and marketing materials, anyway, you get the picture. If you're going to a foreign trade show, there are a lot of different expenses, and we can reimburse 50% of those. However, in the last year, nobody's been doing that, or not much of that. So there is a full list. And, what we have seen in COVID is people are really taking advantage of all the other things that we can help with. So I'll talk a little bit about those items. So, if you export even to Canada, you're going to have to make changes to your packaging and labels so that they are bilingual. Anything you do to modify your packaging and labels, if you have to meet a foreign government's regulations, you can apply to get 50% reimbursement of, let's say your translation, redesigning the packaging, creating new plates, and even the production of your new packaging and labels. So let's say you're taking these cookies to Canada and you're like, gosh, I need to print 10,000 of these bags. You could apply to get 50% reimbursement of even the printing and production of those bags. So that's a huge expense for many companies. Advertising, this could be, as you see here, a company who has like a sort of a billboard above a convenience store, but also, as you'll see, Florida's Natural was advertising on Instagram in Saudi Arabia. So it's, really any kind of consumer advertising in the foreign market, billboards, wrapping a van, Google ads. Anyway, we have seen a lot of companies, really supporting their international brand, their brands internationally using our cost share program. If you want to translate your web pages or create a foreign URL for your website, we can reimburse 50% of that, including all the tech and development, work that goes into that. Naturally, Cheerios is not in our programs, but I thought this was a good example of what that would look like. In-store displays, shelf talkers in the vial, displays, whatnot. That's, something that's going to call attention to your brand in the store. Those are also 50% reimbursable. And something I didn't include in here just because of COVID is in-store sampling is also 50% reimbursable. So once, groceries start allowing handing out food samples, which that just seems so crazy to all of us right now. But, I used to go to Whole Foods or Costco and come out kind of full from all of the cheese and different things that, you kind of taste along the way as you're grocery shopping. And that's such an effective way to introduce your brands to new customers. So 50% of those expenses are reimbursable. What the grocery is charging, what the you're going to have to hire somebody at an hourly rate to do the sampling. So all of that would be 50% reimbursable too. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about how to get into the program. So for cost share, you have to create a cost share application every year. In your application, you're going to let us know in what foreign countries you want to promote your products using cost share, what kind of eligible expenses you're doing, and what it's going to cost. So you have to kind of estimate all that in advance. Let us know, I'm going to spend $20,000 in Canada doing advertising and packaging changes, and then Mexico, I'm going to spend X amount doing this and that, and I'm requesting half back from SUSTA. Then, we go through the application with you, everything looks good, you pay your fees. So there's a $250 application fee when you submit your application, and then you pay a 6% fee on the amount you request in reimbursement. So once all that is done, then you're contracted in the program and you can go out and do, everything you listed in your application. And once whatever it is concludes, so let's say you've done the in-store sampling, once it's over, you just collect your receipts and your proof of activity and, the required documents that we're going to need. And you send that into SUSTA, and it's usually 3 to 4 weeks when you get your reimbursement. So yeah, just a couple things to stress is you apply first and then you go out and do whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. And it's not a grant, it's a reimbursement. So for companies to get started in either program, first you create a MySUSTA account, which again is on our website. You just go to the little sign up and you fill in information about your company and your products, just enough so that we can determine if you're eligible. You'd also let us know which of our programs you're interested in, global events, cost share, or if you're just creating an account to do like webinars and have access to some research that's behind the login, which is fine. And then you'll be reviewed based on which programs and services you choose. So just make sure that you're selecting what you're interested in doing that year. And then once you're eligible, for global events, if you're eligible, then you can just start registering for events online. And if you're eligible for cost share, then you'll have access to that application that I mentioned. And then you have to recertify your account every year. So starting August 1st of this year, you'll get a little prompt when you log in asking you to just, review your account, make sure everything looks fine. And if it does, you just recertify and we re-review you to make sure that you're still eligible for the programs. So that, oh, I almost forgot. This launched this week and we're super excited about it. So we now have an export helpline that is accessible on our website under the resources page, and you can type in questions to our export consultant. She will then contact you within 24 hours and, start helping you figure out whatever that question is. So it could be, about certain shipping documents or, your HS code or, just some of those particulars that even some of the most experienced exporters sometimes have questions with. Victoria, who's our newly identified consultant for this helpline, has been working with SUSTA for a long time and has been assisting companies in the actual export of products for quite some time. So she is a great resource and we're super excited to offer this. It's something that we found has been missing, personally, I've never exported before. So when companies ask me questions, I'm like, oh gosh, let me find a good resource for you. So this way, she is the great resource for us. So another great reason to create your account would be to have access to our export helpline. And now I'm done. So this is my contact information. Please call or email anytime. We are here to serve you. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Danielle. We're going to hear from David, who's been one of those people who do have experience exporting and having used some of the programs that are available from FDACS and SUSTA. But I'll invite anyone from the audience to pose a question for Danielle or Whitney now. Maybe I'll get started off while we wait for some questions. And Whitney, you talked about having trade leads to share with suppliers. how does somebody get on your list of people to whom those trade leads are identified?
So I have two sources that I go from. One would be our list of Florida companies that are participating in SUSTA. The other is within the Department of Ag, we have our Fresh from Florida program. So if you're a company that's using Florida product, or if you're like a Florida grower, that type of thing, or you have a processed product using Florida tomatoes or strawberries or something, we have a group of members. And so those are kind of the two groups that I reach out to. But if anybody on this, webinar is interested in being a part of that, just let me know and I'll put you in one of my lists that I have of people that I reach out to. But those are the two main sources that I reach out to for trade leads.
Yeah, and that's a terrific service that's provided for companies, because so many people are struggling to find those trade leads, and here you've got some great resources who will actually bring them right to you. So I hope to hear about even more people taking advantage of that service. I think that's one thing that all three of our organizations have in common is raising awareness of the programs that are there to help people. And so that's why I'm so glad we've got people joining us today to be able to learn about some of that assistance that's available to exporters. And again, you've got some great resources here today, so please come up with some questions for them. But one other question I wanted to put, I think, to Danielle would be, somebody's on the call today, they've thought like, wow, I really need to get into exporting. How do I figure out what market I want to export to? What can SUSTA or FDACS do to help them identify markets where they want to get started?
Sure. So I mentioned the Foreign Agricultural Service. That's the arm of USDA that funds SUSTA, and they are the ones who also have those in-country staff who are really familiar with, not just regulations, but also the trends and opportunities in different markets and what U.S. ag products are going there. And they write annual reports. So if there's a market that you're interested in, I highly recommend reading. It's called a GAIN report. It has so much information, and it's it's current. It's, really like what's happening in that country right now in terms of U.S. Agriculture exports. So those are great. USDA has other resources where you can, pull reports and see, like where are pecans being sold right or exported to right now out of Florida, or citrus or something like that. Our export helpline would be another great resource for that. Victoria could help you with even figuring out some of the things I just described. So it's really identifying a couple of key markets and then drilling down and doing that research, figuring out maybe where what markets you're not gonna have to deal with duties and tariffs or very high ones, things like that. So looking into free trade agreements as well.
Yeah, the GAIN, the Global Agricultural Information Network reports are really amazing. My background is in agricultural trade, working for the Canadian government, and I would use them a lot, including if I wanted to know what the market was in Canada, because we didn't have anything comparable. So you've heard about some of the great programs and that are really special for the agricultural sector that Danielle has described for us today. And this is yet another service that's really unparalleled anywhere in the world. So we're very fortunate to have governments that are really helping to promote and make it as easy as possible to get into the global marketplace. I haven't got any questions from the audience yet, but I will invite David now to talk a little bit about his experience with exporting and with some of the programs that have facilitated that for him. So over to you, David.
Great. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Danielle and Whitney, for all that helpful information as well. I'm going to share my screen here. So as Chris said, we are a Florida-made, Florida-headquartered, Florida-produced company. our company is Yo Mama's Foods, and we craft natural pasta sauces, salad dressings, ketchups. We are focused on fast-moving consumable items. So I'm just pulling up our website here just to show you, some of our most successful items and items that we've been able to successfully export and partner with organizations like SUSTA through their cost share and through their inbound trade missions as well to really help us to see what's out there and to be participating in those reimbursable expenses as well. So so this is just a little bit about us. We're headquartered in Clearwater. Most of our production is done in Florida as well. These are some of our retail partners. So as we kept scaling and growing in the US, we were, of course, interested and started to get a lot of interest from overseas buyers. And that's been a really important piece of our business is how can we, take our products here that are crafted in Florida and in the US, and how do we share them with buyers and customers overseas. So our first step as a company was actually reaching out to SUSTA. We first found out about SUSTA from the Specialty Foods Association trade show back in 2017. But we officially joined SUSTA last year about this time, and have been, really, really happy with our partnership there. I'll go into some of the specifics of some of our cost share items as well. But really, SUSTA has kind of helped us to maneuver and also help us to launch successfully overseas. There's a lot of advertising and marketing expenses that go into any campaign. So being a participant of that cost share program has been a really helpful piece of our international strategy. So I'm going to jump over here to Amazon. So as Chris said, we sell a lot to Amazon on the US side. And as Danielle and Whitney were kind of discussing about the changing landscape, and a lot of things are virtual now. We've also seen that on the US side, there's been a strong surge in demand for US products online, specifically packaged foods. And that same demand is also overseas. So, because of the global pandemic, more and more customers are just purchasing items online. And specifically last year, there's been a whole new wave of customers that have never purchased things online that are now doing that, not just in the US. We've seen it in Canada, we've seen it in Mexico. And that's really what kind of got us partnered with SUSTA. So today we work with Amazon Canada, we work with Amazon Mexico, and we have our made in USA qualification, which of course, as Danielle stated, was a big piece of the SUSTA program. But specifically, a huge piece of a brand's online strategy overseas is to promote and to ultimately advertise. So on the Amazon side, when a brand is on Amazon Canada, which it's always nice to just show you here, but if you go to Amazon Canada and if you type in pasta sauce, there's tons and tons of pages, but how do you show up quickly? How do you advertise? How do you make sure that you're the, I mean, in this case, we got lucky on like this example because we are the, number one here. But these types of sponsored campaigns are great opportunities for any brand when you're looking at your international strategy overseas. And specifically for us, it's been a really important piece of how we rank and how customers find us really through Canada, through Mexico. Kristen on our team, who's also on this call, she's working on UK and Singapore right now. So we have big goals as a brand to continue this type of model, and certain platforms like Amazon, Facebook, Google that all have paid advertising are all as Danielle stated, applications that can be eligible for the 50% cost share program, which has been really, really helpful to us as a brand because, it's a significant investment to be able to ultimately ship and produce and advertise overseas. But given that there's such a great demand, being part of that 50% cost share program has certainly helped us there. So yeah, so that's just a little background of how we're working with SUSTA. We're definitely excited to participate in some of those outbound trade missions as we can as well, and that's something that we have planned as a brand too. But really, there's a lot of resources in the cost share manual that any brand can use when it comes to trade shows or advertising, and definitely great to be flexible to have the opportunity to also advertise online through social media, through Google, through Amazon platforms, as that's really important in today's changing world. So happy to answer any questions there. Also happy to help any brand kind of maneuver overseas or maneuver SUSTA. We're very much still learning, but SUSTA's website has been really helpful, and they have most of the resources there. But I'm happy to answer any questions there as well.
Wow, that's an amazing experience that you've had, David, and I'm really glad to hear that even early on in your business, you've looked to not just Florida, not just the US, but the whole world as your market. And I see my friend Gonzalo Padron from Port Tampa Bay has some questions for you. He's asking, what are your top 3 export markets? What US ports are you exporting from now? And hopefully you're doing that locally there at Port Tampa Bay. And
Yep.
are you exporting full container loads? Uh, and I would also add to that one question that I had, which is, how are you selling internationally? Is it just through online direct-to-consumer sales, or are you using a distributor uh, as part of your way to sell abroad?
Yep. So we use a mix. So we work with a distributor for Mexico, and then the direct to consumer channel is an important piece for us through online. And then we also work with certain smaller companies, which have just found us, or um, they may, only have one store, or they represent a few stores. But our kind of channel strategy is all mixed. As far as the port, we do use the Tampa Bay port, and our biggest markets would be Canada, Mexico, and we just started shipping last month to Korea. So we're excited about that opportunity. We've seen mostly a large demand in low carb items, that are free from sugars. Also, we've seen a big demand in low sodium items as well. So those are all great pieces to our brand, and things that have helped to launch our brand here in the US, and it's nice to see that that's relevant overseas as well.
Excellent, thanks. Uh, hopefully we can get some more questions from the audience, but in the meantime, could you share a little bit more about your experience at a trade show? What sort of contacts did you make there? How has that helped you to grow your business by participating in a trade show? And maybe you could let us know as well if that was a trade show that occurred here in the US, or did you travel abroad for that trade show?
Definitely, yeah. So we actually haven't participated in trade shows in quite a long time. But one of our first trade shows was the Specialty Foods Association. We did the Fancy Food Show. We launched our business Mother's Day of 2017, so we participated in that trade show shortly after in July of 2017, I think it was. And that was the kind of first experience that we ever had at a trade show. We were a brand new brand. We were operating out of a storage unit at that time. So it was definitely a big learning experience for us. But I mean, what an incredible experience just to be exposed to 7,500 different companies, back in the day when people used to interact in person, of course. But yeah, our first trade show actually got us our first kind of major retail account. We worked with Home Goods after that, who still carries our pasta sauce in their gourmet food aisle. But we met one of their buyers at that trade show. That's also where we got exposed to SUSTA very early on, within 2 months in our business. So I think that the most beneficial aspect of any trade show for any brand is the follow-up and to, just collect a lot of great contacts because you never know, when that will be relevant or when you will start working with those contacts. So for example, we found out about SUSTA in 2017, but we weren't really export ready as a brand until last year. So, it still exposed us to those contacts. It was a great experience to, meet different buyers, to meet different brands. And really today we still talk to a lot of the brands that were our neighbors, excuse me, in those trade shows. So it's been, a great opportunity to also exchange contacts with suppliers, marketing, labels, So yeah, so excuse me. And in our industry, the fancy food show is definitely big. You have Expo West, Expo East, which I believe are also SUSTA sponsored events, if I'm correct, Danielle, because there are a lot of international buyers who go to those trade shows. So, we would love to absolutely participate in trade shows again, hopefully next year. But for now, we've been, just kind of focusing on online growth and building those buyer relationships directly.
Excellent. And I see we've got a question from Pablo Arroyo at the SBDC at USF. And just to put a plug in for the SBDC, they do a lot of work as well, helping companies to export. And one of their premier products is the export marketing report that will help identify markets for Florida companies to, where and provide them with a lot of information of what's going to be needed to access those markets, as well as provide a product that they can use when they're going to seek financing for expanding to export. Oops, sorry, this just went off. He asks whether that you have any specific recommendations related to COVID-19, such as labeling, marketing, or informing consumers about your product.
Hello, Pablo. We're also actually working on the export marketing plan too. So we got connected with that organization through the Pinellas County Economic Development, and we're just starting on the export marketing plan with Pablo as well now too. So we're excited about that. As far as COVID goes, on the labeling side, because we're closed packaged foods, it's really no different than how we do business every day. That nothing is really exposed to the environment, or nothing is really kind of open until the customer ultimately opens it. As far as labeling goes, we are seeing certain countries or certain retailers, such as in Canada, or we're trying to close a deal now in Saudi Arabia, where they do want certain ingredients, nutritional information to be transferred into that country's language. And that's something that we're working on with those buyers, and also something that SUSTA can also help with through their cost share program, as Danielle also stated there too. So as far as any different business practices or different shipping methods, pre-COVID, everything has kind of maintained the same for online shipments. Or I'm sorry, international shipments. Yes. And online. Yeah.
Okay. We've got a question from Reno who's asking, are there a forum or events or resources with organizations or within your experience, David, to assist either exporters or foreign buyers to connect with service providers to work with companies, logistics, customs, transport activity needs, etc.?
Yep. So really the only success, or the only great organizations that we've partnered with as a brand would be the Florida Department of Agriculture with certain resources there, Pinellas County Economic Development, SUSTA, really all of the programs that Whitney and Danielle have outlined have been extremely helpful to us. And then also I would encourage you to contact your local city. The city of Clearwater has been really helpful in kind of making those connections for us. So we work with Spark Clearwater. We have contacts in the economic development with the city who connected us with the Pinellas County Economic Development, who are now connecting us with some of the other organizations. So I think any of your local city economic development com, are extremely helpful, honestly. We started working with them in the very beginning, and those are the, I think, best resources for many companies.
I don't know if Whitney or Danielle, you want to add anything?
I was just going to chime in and say that, what we like to say at SUSTA is it takes a village. And if it's something that, we can't answer, we can usually find somebody like David was saying, maybe somebody local even who can, fill in some blanks and help out. Of course, the state departments of agriculture. So it's, there's always somebody depending on the question. And it really does take a village because there are so many components. Another thing we like to say is Friday is not your exporting is not your Friday activity. It's not like, oh, I got everything else done this week. Maybe I'll think about that. It needs to be a strategy where you have, a lot of thought and, resources that you're putting into it and really thinking through all of those steps. So I think, really calling on the resources that are available, as David has done, is what makes a company successful, doing all that homework.
Thank you. I know myself, when I'm talking with a company, I will provide information about the value of having a good third-party logistics company to work with, because they're going to have in-house the ability to find you the carrier to work with. They'll take into account what your shipping needs are, what are the priorities, whether it's keeping it at the lowest cost possible, or you have to deliver by a certain date. They'll work with you. They'll normally have in-house custom brokers who will be able to tell you about what you're going to need in order to get it across the border at the other end. So really working with them is important. Like most government related organizations, we don't make specific recommendations, but I'll have a list of companies that I've worked with and where I know the people, and that they're obviously interested in making those connections with local businesses. And I cover Central Florida, but it's more sort of from Osceola County all the way over to Brevard and Volusia. There'll be different organizations in different parts of the state that can help, and I'm always happy to help out wherever you happen to be located. One question I wanted to put to you, David, and have you taken advantage yet of the ability to translate your website that SUSTA offers? And I'll also add a pre-question for after for Danielle. And is the service that you provide just translating the website, or do you actually localize it so that it's search engine optimized for the market that they go into, and that, if they're selling into Colombia, it's somebody who speaks Colombian Spanish that does the translation, not somebody who just happens to speak Spanish, just taking that as an example. But I'll ask David first if he's had an opportunity to use this service.
Yeah, so we haven't yet. We're still about a year old in the SUSTA program, but it's definitely something that is on our list as we expand into certain countries, and as it becomes really important for us, to have a Spanish site or a Korean site. That's certainly something that we will be participating in.
Yeah, and especially now, when you're not meeting with buyers, eye to eye. So there's trust that builds when you're going to a trade event and you actually meet each other and you exchange personal information. So if you do have a website, now that's optimized for a foreign country, it can help bridge that trust that isn't being fostered through those in-person meetings. They're going to say like David was saying, a Korean website, for instance, might, really go a long way to a Korean importer who is trying to figure out, are you a legitimate company? Are you going to really send the products? Is it going to come when it says, just are you trustworthy? So I think for companies who are trying to build credibility in a COVID world, a website, a solid website in general is great, but also one that's optimized for your target market is a huge bonus. And yes, Chris, to answer your question, it's, the US company would hire the translator. So yes, you'd want to make sure that, if it's Portuguese or if it's Canadian French or whatever the language is, to definitely make sure that, you're doing that for the right market. And yeah, we can, our eligible reimbursements extend to the tech development, so it's going to be, if you're creating a Canadian website, it's .ca. So, if there was yomamas.ca, we could reimburse 50% of creating that new URL and optimizing it for the Canadian market.
Yeah, that's really key, because I think sometimes companies only think about translating, and so they would be still .com, but then have a button up top with another language, which is not quite the same thing as when you actually go out and have a website that you're showing the effort that you're going to create one that's made specifically for that country, and I'm really glad to hear that that's something that SUSTA can help out with. It's 11 o'clock. I want to be conscious of everybody's time. So unless there's any last minute questions, going once, going twice, going three times. Well, I'm going to thank everybody for joining us today. It has been a great conversation with David, Danielle, and Whitney. I think I have definitely learned a lot, and I hope that everybody online has as well. I will invite you to stay tuned. Next month, CFITO is planning a special event to celebrate World Trade Month, and Pablo's colleagues at the Florida SBDC at UCF here in Orlando have asked me to share with you that on May 4th at 10 o'clock, they invite you to their webinar, Finding International Customers in a Virtual World, Export Marketing in the New Normal, where they will explore the opportunities and services available to help Florida companies identify, vet, and qualify potential partners or customers in overseas markets, provide virtual introductions, and keep your business growing. I'll send you details with that after this meeting. I'll send everyone the contact information for all three speakers, as well as PDF copies of their presentations. And finally, this event, as I mentioned, has been recorded. It will go up on the CFITO website. So I'll provide a link to that as well if you want to look back to it or you want to share this with everyone else. And I don't think I could word things better than Amy just has, which is thank you all. This has been quite informative. Thank you, everybody.